into today's community comment. I had to make sure I hit go live on our stream. I almost forgot to do that. I've done that multiple times where I forgot to hit go live, so I just caught that in the nick of time before we started today's program. But again, I am your host, Kevin Haugen. Welcome into today's community comment. It is my pleasure to welcome into our Daily Dodge TV studio today our guest on the program this afternoon. Joining us here on our program here is Dodge County Emergency Preparedness Coordinator Matt Bartol. Matt, thank you so much for coming in and joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
And we'll dive in a little bit here throughout the program about what that position is. It's not new, but it's a relatively newer-ish, I guess if that's a word I can use, position within the Emergency Management Department, and we'll talk about everything that you do in that role and how busy that position makes you. And also off camera, she didn't want to join us. Maybe next time we have the department in is Deputy Director for the Dodge County Emergency Management Department, Amanda Pulvermacher. She's here to make sure Matt stays on task and is make sure he gets everything correct when we're on our program today. If you do have a question for Matt Bartol here during community comment today, you can call the show at 887-9595 or text 885-4446 if you have questions throughout the program just about what emergency management does and maybe what Matt's role does if we don't dive into it specifically during the program today. But again, I want to thank Matt for taking some time out of his busy schedule to talk with us this afternoon. But Matt, I want to, as I mentioned, I want to dive into a lot of the specifics of your job and what that position entails. But I guess I want to start off first just asking you, is working in this field and in this environment, is this something that you always pictured yourself doing? Is it something that you always had a passion for, or is it just sort of your life found you in this role and you just sort of went along with it?
Yeah, I think more the latter. I was a full-time firefighter down at Truex in Madison for the past 10 years, almost 10 years. And this job opened up, and having 3 kids and a wife at home and then having to go to Madison and being gone with overtime and everything, I just kind of started looking. I wasn't really heavy into it, and this job popped up, and I had reached out to our former director, Amy, and she's like, yeah, you should go ahead and apply for it. And here I am, Dodge County 2 years later.
So yeah, about 2 years on the roll again, Dodge County Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. Really, what does that job entail when you're in that role? What are your day-to-day responsibilities, or over the year, what are you responsible for?
So a lot of what I've kind of undertaken right now is on the emergency management side. So being a split position, it's public health and emergency management. On the emergency management side, I've taken over the hazmat team, which I've been a member of since 2013, and then just kind of looking at bringing classes and different types of educational events to the county and outreach with our community-based partners. And then public health is kind of the same thing. I also handle environmental complaints with public health and work on the planning side for different things such as our mass casualty plans or family assistance center plans, some of the big ticket items that have for us.
So as we're now in the fall months, what are some of the things that you have now pivoted your focus on and are really working on this time of year?
Anything on paper. Right now, one of the biggest things I'm working on is we're looking at revamping the way our healthcare coalition is run. Mm-hmm. Kind of started one up, and then I was off for a little bit, and had conversations about just what do we really want to get from it, how do we want our community partners involved in it. So we're looking at turning that around, so coming up with some plans to kind of make that better and bring some good exercises that kind of encompass real-world events to that. And then, like I said, just writing some of these plans to make sure that as a department, as a county, mm-hmm. we're prepared in case of any different sort of event that we can handle it.
Yeah. And you mentioned that in your role, you sort of have kind of a twofold job responsibility. One is the public health side, and the other side is the emergency management side. How does that work on a day-to-day basis? Is it just, today there's more tasks when it comes to having to get to public health matters, or how does that split up between both tasks there?
Usually it's about a 60-40 split, but I kind of just find myself going with the flow. If something comes up in one spot, I'm there. I take care of it. If something comes up on the other side, otherwise I try and split the time, pretty appropriately. But it always seems like something comes up and something happens. So, and there's been a lot of training, so I haven't really got to do much of either job recently. So
Yeah, I know during the warmer months, I'm sure the trainings and out of the office type of work really kind of takes over and is the primary part of the job that you do. And I want to dive into in a little bit just some of the trainings that you are part of and help coordinate. I know there was a big one this past August that I had the opportunity to talk to you about for a story that we ran involving hazmat, because you're part of the hazmat team as well. It's a part of your role too. But I just want to spend a few more moments. I know you kind of highlighted a little bit, just surface level, of some of the things that you do with public health and emergency management, but maybe we can dive a little deeper. And what are some of the things that you, in terms of the time that you've been on that in the job, the 2 years that you've been on, what are some of the things that you learned and discovered about this role, like in when it comes to public health or even emergency management, that you weren't aware about when you took this job? Is there anything that you have experienced or learned that was maybe surprising for you?
So a lot of my background was in fire and emergency services. So coming into it and seeing all the planning and the preparedness side of things, I really didn't have a lot of that back then. We, as firefighters, we respond to things. We don't really think about it beforehand. You just never know what's going to come up. Here, I get to see the front end of that, where we don't know if it's coming. We hope it don't come, but we're always preparing for different scenarios just in case something were to happen. And that could be, severe weather, which is the most frequent thing around here, but also, man-made issues that are caused, human-caused issues and whatnot. So that really just surprised me of how much went into the planning side of things.
Yeah, and then I'm sure that as the years have gone on, that there's been a lot of changes in what you guys need to be prepared for. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, some of the issues of, maybe more natural in nature, the things that you prep for now, unfortunately, it feels like a lot of it is man-made causes and man-made incidents that you guys need to train for and prepare for. Would that be a true statement?
I think so. Really looking at like cyber crime and stuff now too, and you have individuals that can hack into networks and they can shut whole local governments down if they really want to. So kind of looking at that and preparing for stuff like that. It's a lot different than probably when we were kids. You're looking at a tornado or a wildfire here, which those things are still on the radar. But now the big thing is, terrorism and all the stuff that comes with I want to say like the climate of the nation and the world in general.
Yeah, I want to also look back quickly before we discuss some of the trainings and that aspect of your job. This past summer was probably the most insane summer that I can remember in terms of the severe weather that we saw hit this area when it comes to rain and tornado warnings and all that stuff. Was it particularly challenging within the Dodge County Emergency Management to navigate this past summer, or were things in place that it operated as you guys intended it to?
I think things are in place and it operated pretty well as intended. I spent some time in dispatch during some of the outbreaks and whatnot, and just kind of helped listen in on some of the radio traffic and whatnot. And one thing I want to say with the tornado or the severe weather outbreaks is, people really kind of go crazy during those events. So we were using our social media presence along with the sheriff's office to kind of push out the sheriff's office app. People were calling 911 for non-emergent related things. And one example I use is someone on the far side of the county, towards the Fond du Lac County border, is hearing their sirens go off, and there's sun in the sky, and they're like, well, why are the sirens going off? Well, the whole county is, and then all the severe weather's closer to Waterloo and Columbus. So we use our social media presence to push out, hey, if you have a concern, if it's non-emergent, please don't inundate our 911 because there are, emergencies don't stop. So we pushed that out, and that kind of brought the call volume down.
That's an interesting note here. Again, I promise we'll get to trainings in just a moment, but you talk about getting the public involved and educating them, and I'm sure that's a huge component of what your job is, and making sure that the public knows what's happening, what they can expect, what they should do. Is that also another component of your job, or just the emergency management department in general, is just to get the public educated about those things?
It's a big component of both sides. Creating those public-private partnerships, and that's definitely something that we're starting to really focus on. COVID and the whole COVID really gutted out what we did because so much time was just focused on that. And then coming into this position, kind of creating that position to be what we think it should be, in partnership with Roman, who's our public health officer, and Joe and Amanda in EM. We're really just trying to push some more of those partnerships, and that's through like healthcare coalitions and I can't remember some of the other community groups and stuff, but there's webinars and stuff that we sit in on. And then
I know that also it was a couple months ago, I want to say, that there's like NOAA trainings that the public can sign up for through the Dodge County Emergency Management Department, so they can become severe weather trained and assist essentially the weather service in terms of reporting, and that's some of the stuff that you guys also offer to the community as well.
Yeah, we had a full house at the auditorium at the admin building in Juneau. I want to say we probably had about 130 people in there.
Wow. It
was packed. It was standing room only.
Wow.
So yeah, it was really cool to see the public taking advantage of that, and I'm assuming we're probably going to do that again next year, and hope to see another turnout like that, and we'll definitely advertise it.
Fantastic. Again, we're chatting with Matt Bartol here on Community Comment today. He is the Dodge County Emergency Preparedness Coordinator at the Dodge County Emergency Management Department in Juneau. Finally, and I keep saying we'll get to trainings. Now we'll finally get to trainings, we'll dive into more specifics here, but just. In your role, Matt, what do you oversee, or what do you help coordinate when it comes to trainings with the Dodge County Emergency Management Department, and then with other agencies maybe throughout the county as well?
So I'm a firm believer that training and education will take you places. The big one for me is obviously hazmat. And trying to just get local fire departments on board with the hazmat teams to get us more face-to-face, because they're the ones that are calling us, and they're the ones that are going to need our services. So just trying to get us to work more cohesively. And all of our members on our team are members of local fire departments too. So it brings us together, just a camaraderie, team-building thing. But some of the other trainings, and one that I'm really proud of, was the Infrastructure Disaster Management Plan, or training program. And we did that in Waupun, and it was a series of 7 classes. There were 4 2-day core classes, 16-hour classes, and 15 of us completed that whole program, and that's done through FEMA and the National Domestic Preparedness Consortium, and that just covers things like water and wastewater, electric power systems and stuff, and that really opened up our eyes and got a lot of the key players in the county some good training, just things to look for, and it covers everything from natural disasters that can affect our systems to terrorist events and whatnot.
Do FEMA representatives come out and be a part of that training, or do you have local people come in and are part of those trainings?
Usually they're FEMA instructors, FEMA or Domestic Preparedness Consortium instructors. So, and we've had, besides that, we've had other ones. We had a mass fatalities for rural communities class that we just held. It was a 1-day in September. So that was kind of cool. We had medical examiners, law enforcement. I think there was some EMS that were involved in that. And that just kind of goes over mass fatality planning and reception centers and just how to deal with events like that. It's something you hope never happens, right. But we got some other ones coming up too. We have our debris management class coming up, which is a requirement for the Advanced Certified Emergency Managers Program. So that's coming up. And then, I'm lost for words. Look at Mom over here. We have the school incidents ones too. And
nice.
Amanda should really scoot over here and talk about that. She's done a phenomenal job working on school safety plans and stuff like that. I think from where we were as a county probably 5-10 years ago to where we are now is just leaps and bounds. And it's just, I think it's a credit to the whole team, just bringing everybody together. And I won't say forcing these trainings, but making them available, because the more you make them available, the more people are going to be interested in them.
Yeah, I offered to set up a spot here for Amanda. She said, not today. Maybe next time we can get her on to highlight some of those specific when it comes, as you mentioned, Matt, those trainings. But, look at just the amount of trainings that happen throughout the course of a year, and really that speaks, I'm sure, to the testament to all the other agencies that are involved, that they want to be a part of this and work on communicating between interagency work partnership development and things of that nature. And it does seem to have, there is a strong support to further these trainings throughout the county. Is that true?
It is. Yeah, there's definitely the need to. And then even, little, you got your big ticket items, but even the little things like CPR. We're both CPR instructors. We brought some more training to the county, and we've gotten probably half our county employees trained in CPR now. So it's always your big ticket items, but we're always looking for the little things that we can plug in there too to help make it a better place to work.
Yeah, and I mentioned also here on community comments a little bit ago, back in August, there was the opportunity with a number of different fire departments here within the county to participate in a hazmat training. I believe you had volunteers of the community come out as well. They were covered in some material, and I'm going to do a terrible job explaining this, so Matt, I'll let you take over. But that was really another great example of a lot of different agencies coming together, even members of the community participating and helping out and working on an important training.
Yeah, so that was the first drill of its kind since I can remember, being on the team and everything. And the purpose of it is to help other fire departments, or the local fire departments, be able to support us as we go out. We have a core group of volunteers that are on the team, but depending on the size and scope of the incident, we might need help, in fire departments, and the training they receive are actually able to assist us with decontamination training. So we thought, well, what better way to bring people together and support our team than to get some of these fire departments on board and do some of these trainings. So we had Allenton, Iron Ridge, Neosho, Hughesford, Theresa. No, I apologize.
No, it's
always
fine.
missing Theresa. Thanks, Mom. And we brought them all together in Iron Ridge.
Yeah.
They got a few volunteers together. So it was a warm night. They knew they were getting wet. So basically what we did was we covered them in flour. And that simulated just some kind of contaminant.
Yeah.
It was more, you're not always going to see the contaminant on you. Excuse me. But just by putting something on, it gave them a sense of what's going on. You can see it come off, and what your decon methods are effective or not. And so we ran them through a couple different things. We had a mass decon, which was putting a couple fire engines side by side and running water from the hose lines. And then we had a ladder set up overhead, spraying water down. And basically what the purpose of that was, if we ever had an incident where a lot of people are contaminated and we have to get stuff off them really quickly, they can go through this shower thing and then kind of be funneled into a more secure area for further treatment. Okay. And then we focus on technical decon, which is deconning responders themselves.
And it's when I remember talking with you about this training a couple weeks ago, you mentioned that it's a great opportunity for fire departments to do something that they don't normally are involved with in this process. I know that you said that a lot of times they are off doing other things, and it helps also emergency officials, preparedness officials, on seeing that they can be freed up to do other things. So, participating and doing these trainings will help streamline, processes unfortunately if something like this were to happen in the real world environment. But I'm sure this is just a great opportunity for them to be able to be more prepared and assist in any way necessary.
Yeah, more prepared and just bringing up their level of comfort with what we do. So we know that if something comes, they've already done it. They know it's not an overly difficult task, and everything's written out for them. If they were ever had to go get stuff on our truck, we have diagrams and everything. You just set it up, and they know how to do it.
Fantastic. Now, I know you mentioned a training that happened in Waupun involving FEMA, and that was a highlight. Has there been any other trainings that you've been a part of, Matt, or have helped coordinate that stand out in your mind as being particularly interesting, or have been the trainings that you learned a lot in the aftermath of doing these trainings? I might be putting you on. I might be.
There's been so many trainings because we've all had to go through certification trainings through Wisconsin Emergency Management and stuff too. That one really stood out as a good one in my mind. I was really proud of that certificate. It's hanging on my wall. The mass fatalities one. I can't remember all the ones I've been through, to be honest with you.
Is it you need some extra hands and feet to be able to count all the trainings that you've been a part of? It's been that many.
Yeah, I mean, I go. Yeah, there's a site, Wisconsin Emergency Management site, and you can input all your certificates into there, and they track it for you. So I just put them in, and if I need to remember what I took, I just go through and look at it again.
Great. And back quickly to the hazmat training that happened here this past August. I think you mentioned that there's another one coming up here in our area in next year.
Yep. So, being a member of the Beaver Dam Fire Department, I figured we'd bring it over to this side of the county. So we're gonna get Beaver Dam and then invite some of the surrounding fire departments too once we get the planning process for that.
Fantastic.
More in place.
Will there be the same call for members of the community to come out and help out like there was at the other training back in August, or is there going to be a different method how this one's, or maybe it's not even decided yet what you'll do?
It's not decided yet, but I definitely like to get some community involvement. It's just nice to get people. So, and that might look like maybe the Citizens Police Academy, because that's going to be going on about that time. Maybe they'll come out and get some involvement, or the fire department cadets too. So, yeah, planning's just starting for that one.
Fantastic. Again, we're joined with Dodge County Emergency Preparedness Coordinator Matt Bartol here on Community Comment, as well as Amanda Pavlemacher. She's off screen, the Deputy Director at the Dodge County Emergency Management Department in Juneau. Again, you mentioned that you've been a part of so many different trainings throughout your career. Are there any trainings or anything that you've caught wind of, or no other agencies or departments that have done that you haven't done yet that you want to do and bring to this area of the state?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's just, like I said, there's so much. We're really focusing on like our certifications for our individual jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're always fighting to try and get those classes brought here, so we can be the host of them. Instead of having to drive all over the state. But
and how much work is that to get that brought to this county, to get those classes done here? Does that require some finagling to get people, or is they all like, oh yeah, no, absolutely, we'll come down and do these trainings?
There's a couple times a year where there's an opportunity to put in for training when the funding drops, and so then everyone wants these certain classes depending on what the needs are for their areas. So we are getting the debris management class coming up in January, I believe, and then, or February, January, and I can't remember if there's another one we had, but yeah, we basically put in for what we want, and then we just cross our fingers and hope we get it.
And you mentioned a couple times this debris management training. Is that what I think that is? That so debris that involves with a storm and what to do it? Describe what that is exactly.
Yeah, so the understanding I have, because I haven't gotten that far
Sure.
in my career, and I haven't personally had to deal with that, is basically, you have all this debris from storms, and when you go out and do your damage assessments and everything, you include some of that debris and whatnot in there, and basically it's how do you get it, I won't say sorted out, but in a location, sorted out, how do you take inventory of that, because maybe you had some forest land, that was, or some government land that was ripped apart or whatever by flooding or a tornado. And so it's basically just going through and figuring out, what do you do with it? How do you get reimbursed for, taking care of it or the damage that it did, and then
go from there.
Still to come. I'll have more on that one next year.
In a future show, we'll dive more into the details of maybe debris training or debris management or debris that training here on a future Community Comment. But again, we're chatting with Matt Bartol here on Community Comment, and as we look here at next year, obviously we mentioned the hazmat training here, the debris management training as well. Is there any other trainings that you want to highlight or note that are taking place in 2025?
Not that I can think of right now. I mean, I know standby for the springtime. I'm sure we'll have the National Weather Service back in Dodge County, but it's really fluid with training. We can get them at the drop of a dime. So whenever we get them, if it's something that's open to the public, we'll definitely put it out there and advertise it, definitely through our social media channels.
Great. Now, is this another, maybe just off the topic of trainings here, but what requires somebody to be interested in, like, say if they're hearing this and like, well, this is interesting, I want to maybe learn more, or this is maybe something I want to do for my career. What recommendations do you have for somebody maybe in just a high school or just starting college, maybe to sign up for specific classes or organizations or groups to get themselves involved in this field and learn more and potentially maybe do what you do one day?
I got involved kind of the non-traditional way, I think. which was through fire and EMS. And my original degree is in law enforcement, so I was a part-time officer for a few years out of county, and then just kind of fell into it. But there's program tracks you can go through. UW Green Bay has a track. There's the fire program through UW Oshkosh, and they have 2 different tracks. There's like a fire officer track and emergency management, and it's just like a 5-course difference. There's not really like a true emergency management degree out there. So it's something that if you want to get into, I mean, there's all different sorts of skill sets within emergency management. So
you're saying Joe Maher never went to college to become?
No comment.
We got to get Joe Maher on next time, and he can dive into that.
School of Hard Knocks.
Fantastic. Well, we are quickly running out of time here on community comment today. Is there anything else that we want to highlight or note? I know that Fire Prevention Week was not too long ago. Is there anything that a message that we want to highlight here when it comes to just overall safety for the county that is important for our listeners or viewers to know?
No crazy bonfires, kids. Make sure that you change out your batteries and your smoke detectors. Make sure your carbon monoxide detectors are working. If you own a chimney, make sure that your chimneys are cleaned out and inspected, your fireplaces and whatnot, because it's that time of year again when the pager's going to start going off for those chimney fires. So those are just a few of the tips that I had for that.
Fantastic. Again, I want to thank our guest here on Community Comment today, Matt Bartol. He is the Dodge County Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. I also want to thank Amanda Pulvermacher for making sure she gave her nods of approval or disapproval. And if he ever had any questions throughout the program today, she is the Deputy Director at the Dodge County Emergency Management Department, again in Juneau. Again, I want to thank our guest, Matt Bartol. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Hey, thank you.
And that will do it for today's Community Comment.
Listen to Green Bay football